and gentlemen, welcome to the second round of the Idea Hub sessions. To kick off the next one, let's have a closer look on apps as a growth engine for your business. To help us navigate through this topic, please welcome Yorgos Monokandylos, Industry Manager FinTech at Google, and Chailis, CMO at Libertex Group. Yorgos, Marios, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. So today I think we're going to speak for something that, I don't know how familiar you feel, but I'm sure that, it's not that far away from our daily life. So just before we start, just to make it a bit more interactive, because we're in a small room and cozy, shall I ask quickly to tell us the company names that you're from? Just representatives, one each.
All the Libertex crowd can just
say
raise
once,
your hands.
Libertex, exactly, yes. If for Marius, just say Libertex once. We know there are plenty. The other companies here?
The trading pit or trading firm.
Yeah. All right. FP Markets, nice. Nice to meet you. Yeah, Libertex, I guess, or Google. Hi, Pano. Cool.
And how many of you have mobile apps that you're promoting?
He stole my question.
Oh, sorry.
No worries. But yeah, how many of you are using your mobile every day? Perfect, excellent. How many of you have an app that you love and you use every day? Okay. So, it's pretty clear, right, that apps and mobiles have become like essential part of our daily lives. It's, it's something that we naturally, when we wake up, we take over and we start using our mobiles to help our daily lives. As such, you have seen a proliferation of apps across all different verticals. This is not different also in FinTech and specifically on trading, right? This is what we want to discuss today with Marios. So I want to thank him so much for joining our panel today.
That's my great pleasure.
And I think we want to touch a bit across the funnel on apps and how it can help your businesses and give you the opportunity to grow and scale fast and efficiently, right? So before we start, just a few words I would like to ask from Marios if you can share a bit of the current status of your business and give us also your perspective on the current status of the market.
All right, so I think most of the people here can testify that the last couple of years have been a bit turbulent. Many things have changed. If you look back maybe up to 2 years ago, our industry was sort of still riding the crypto hype. A lot of the trading, even in the CFD sector, was on digital assets. And that sort of went away with the crypto crash and subsequent crypto winter. So a lot of companies that were depending on crypto to generate leads and generate new customers had to reinvent their acquisition funnels. It's something that affected us, and I'm, from discussing with friends in the industry, it's something that I keep hearing about. And I think a lot of companies had to go back to what used to work a few years ago. We didn't have crypto since the beginning of time. I think the first big wave was back in 2017, and everybody who was positioned well were able to ride that wave and help them grow and then potentially introduce other assets to those clients. But this last year, everything that was crypto related sort of went away. So what do you do in that case? How do you recapture market share? How do you continue growing? And for us, a big part of that was our mobile apps, which was one of our strengths from many years ago. We were quite fortunate that we entered that market, let's say mobile app trading quite early, comparing to the rest of the industry. And it's something we always go back to whenever we need to find growth, either in new markets or new channels. And it's proven quite successful.
Exactly. Thank you so much for mentioning that, because I was just about to mention that, over the last 3 years, 4 years, when we had like this kind of massive growth on this specific vertical, on trading, online trading and retail trading specifically. Like think about meme stocks, GameStop, and all this kind of stuff, Robinhood explosion. I think apps was an essential part of that shift on the user behavior, right? And we see it also on our data. On our side, actually, we see a massive growth on usage on mobile apps. And also we see a massive growth on searches coming through mobiles, which means, again, that users are ready, to convert on an app and start using your services. Today we're talking about more than 80% of the traffic comes through mobiles, right? On your vertical, not generally, on your vertical. So that was my key question, the first question on how did apps help you grow and accelerate your business even in the latest years, but also in the beginning. Maybe you can take us through your journey.
All right. Okay. So it's quite an interesting journey. I'll ask a few questions as well. Who remembers what mobile device they were using in, let's say, 2014? Yeah, most probably. So I am embarrassed to say that I was using a BlackBerry Passport. I don't know if any of you remember what that looked like. It was quite about the size of this thing that I carry around now, but it was a BlackBerry. And then iPhone, it was iPhone 6, so for iOS users, and Android were still very fragmented, a lot of small manufacturers. There were some decent devices, but nothing really to write home about, right? And it was still growing. So at that point, in 2014, at Libertex, through, I would say, the vision of our founder and the senior management of the company, they realized that there is an opportunity to develop mobile apps. We made some early attempts. There was a Windows version that was kind of shitty. Then there was a native iOS and Android app with a lot of bugs, a lot of issues. And it's something that, we quickly pivoted. We developed an HTML5 based app. And a lot of things that we learned along the way. The industry wasn't mature in using mobile trading apps. So we had to learn and we had to experiment, and we went through many, many iterations. And let's say the final version of what came out from our mobile apps was end of 2014, early 2015. And that also was followed next year with our retargeting, our refocusing of the geographies that we were targeting. Our company originally was based out of the CIS region. We're very big in that part of the world, but we soon realized that we wanted to expand in Europe, in Latin America, in a lot of other jurisdictions. So in 2016, we launched our European regulated broker, and we had those apps in hand, and we realized that it was something that was generating a lot of growth. Buying advertising on mobile was much cheaper, much more affordable, and the fact that we could onboard customers through mobile proved to be a very good acquisition tool. By 2017, the first wave of the crypto hype happened. We had the ability, because we had our in-house app, to add assets very easily. And I don't know if it was just because we were amazing at marketing or because we got lucky. We had added Bitcoin CFDs a few months before that huge hype that took over the world. And for whatever reason, anybody who was looking on an app store or a Play Store about Bitcoin, our app was one of the first few that they would come across. And that, changed everything. We immediately found ourselves getting millions and millions of downloads, converting, thousands and thousands of new customers on a monthly basis. And that really changed I would say that the whole trajectory of the company. Now, once we realized that can happen, we started looking at opportunities to replicate that. And like Yorgos said, some of those meme coins, right? Dogecoin. We had a Dogecoin CFD. We never knew it was going to pick up, but once that happened, we were there. People were searching for that, and we had a product available for them to trade. Same thing happened with AMC stocks. I mean, everything that we look back at and say, oh, that would have been great if I was able to capture some of that traffic, some of those clients. We had that because mobile apps, by their nature, they're easier to discover, they're easier to find, we can promote them right on your mobile devices, and you have access to them 24/7. It's not like a desktop where you need to be at the office or at home. You can do that on the road. You can do it while you're commuting to work. So it really helped, and it was a game changer for us.
Fantastic. Thanks so much. And actually, the last thing that you mentioned is like you really adapted to the user behavior, which is, I think, in essence, what every business should do, right? You need to follow the user and how they behave on the daily lives in order to be successful, right? If you want to touch each time they should search for you. So, I mean, if we think about the benefits of using apps today for your business, I mean, I can mention a few things, but there are thousands, right? I mean, when we look on research, we can see that NPS score is tripling on heavy app users versus the rest of your users, right? Or you see like a 50% plus lifetime value on an app engaged user versus the rest of your users. So there are also business repercussions that are really positive once you use this app channel to acquire new customers. What else would you mention as a benefit of using apps to enter the market?
I mean, apps are not just an acquisition tool. For us, it's an amazing retention tool. We have the ability to deliver messages to our users 24/7, push notifications, any other kind of inbox messages directly on their app. We analyze behavior, we see patterns, we have different segments of customers, and we can reach them at any time, right? So if we see that some clients are not active or they haven't logged into the app or their trading platform for a while, we can send them a message, remind them what assets they like to trade, show them opportunities, education, whatever it is that it's interesting for them, very, very highly customized. And that drives engagement, that drives them back to the platform, reminds them why they downloaded the app in the first place. But at the same time, like I said, it's an amazing acquisition tool. This day and age, we have a profile on most users. We know how to target specific audiences. We know who might have an interest to trading and our type of product. So we can either put our ads in front of them throughout their daily lives on their mobile devices, while they're reading news, while they're checking financial information, and sort of drive our branding into their mind. So at that moment, when they're ready to download a trading app and open an account, our app is probably going to be one of the first that they're going to recall and try out. At the same time, as a retention tool, it showed that along with the rest of our trading apps, because our trading applications, our web trader, even traditional download apps like MetaTrader, MT4, it sort of complements that. So we don't really distinguish the value of an app customer versus a traditional customer. The app, it's part and parcel with everything else. It complements and benefits the customer. It gives him access to markets at times when he's not in front of his computer. They work seamlessly with each other. We don't really see a distinction in the value and lifetime of customers just because they're trading on an app.
That totally makes sense, I think, and that's I would agree with you that that's the best way to look at it, right? A user is a user for you and has a certain value across the platforms. What you need to make sure is, as I said before, align with his behavior so you can find him at the right time, at the right point, at the right device, in order to make the most out of it.
Something else that's quite important, and from discussions in the industry with friends that work for other companies, there was always a perception, and it's still pretty relevant in some people's minds, that you don't really need an app. If you have a good desktop and you have a good sales team and a call center, you can call the client, present the opportunities over the phone, and then they'll trade. But with regulation, with the way things are moving, for example, in Europe, you can't really operate a call center like back in the day. I keep hearing people saying, oh yeah, we're going to do sales, we're going to do that. It's next to impossible, and it's getting harder and harder. So why not make sure that you can deliver targeted messages to your client? That's compliant, right? You don't want to jeopardize your license by having, let's say, an overzealous sales guy calling a client and pissing him off, saying the wrong thing. You're in complete control of the messaging. You can deliver it in a compliant way, and you sort of overcome the necessity of having a sales team and a call center. And that can also affect your profitability. You don't need to have a huge payroll, I don't know, a few hundred people sitting in a call center calling clients. You can do that through the app. You can deliver messages to them at any given time, and that really makes a difference on your bottom line.
I think one thing I love when we speak also on our daily business together on the exchanges we have, I think is the investment you're doing behind your apps, right? And one of the main topics that we hear on this industry for many of our clients is always this debate around, shall I have my own proprietary app or shall I use a third-party solution for that? What's your take on that?
All right, so obviously our experience was from having our own proprietary apps. We developed them in-house. We have a large IT department that developed these apps. And like I mentioned earlier, it wasn't, the easiest thing to do. We had to learn how to do it. We made a lot of mistakes. And every time we had a great success story, we had a lot of technical issues that also were impacting the performance. The example I mentioned earlier with Bitcoin CFD back in 2017, yeah, it was great to get thousands and thousands of new customers. Everything crashed after a while. Our back-end systems were overwhelmed by registrations. Our dealing servers were overwhelmed. We had to scale, and then we realized, okay, if we're going to have this kind of patterns of user behavior, then we need to build our systems in such a way that it can withstand this and be scalable in case it happens again. And yes, it did happen. AMC, Dogecoin, all those things, they had the same effect. And at the same time, you are susceptible to fraudulent behavior. We tried some mobile networks where we had great success in generating downloads. Conversion ratio to active clients was decent, but I think by the nature of those networks and maybe where the traffic was coming from, we had a huge influx of fraud clients. People they were trying to do all kinds of fraud, stolen credit cards, whatever. So we had to learn how to cope with that, how to fight back, how to identify fraud patterns. So all those things over time, they keep getting incorporated in our product, and now we have, I would say, a better product and safer product that helps us to continue scaling. But it wasn't always the case. So yes, you can get something that's ready-made. You can get one of the off-the-shelf software that's out there, but it's not the same as having something that's unique to you. You can customize, you can tweak, you can offer a unique trading experience, but it comes with a debt of technology and know-how that you have to carry as well. I would say there's definite advantages, but it's not an easy task.
Totally understand. I appreciate your opinion on that. It's interesting what you said before. Is like the experience you had on scaling with apps, and it's true. Actually, this is something also we hear and we experience with all our clients. Is apps together, like a good product like yours, in combination with these new smart solutions to promote this product, like app campaigns, for example, that we have. But also other competitors, they have app campaigns.
Are you plugging UAC campaigns right now?
No, I'm just saying. But actually, the reality is that you see this kind of pattern often from clients that they sometimes experience kind of massive growth very quickly, and that means that it can help them quickly scale and enter some markets, but they need to be prepared, right? And they need to have the product that they have the right levers, and they can get in there and change it themselves and make it better and better.
Not just that, massive scaling of any market, right?
Yeah.
You get a bunch of customers. If your back end, your back office isn't able to go through their documents, their KYC documents in the same speed that you're onboarding them, then you're going to have a bottleneck. There were cases a few years back, some industry peers, I don't want to mention any names, but they had similar problems, but they weren't able to scale those, back-end processes. So they got stuck, and they had to stop onboarding clients for a number of days, in some cases a few months as well, just to go through all the backlog of applications and account opening that they had to do. You have to be able to scale and maintain a proper customer service and a customer experience. Like I said, it's impossible to have huge growth without any teething problems and without any let's say hiccups. That's understandable and maybe expectable. but you need to understand that it's not just about having an app. The whole ecosystem that supports the app needs to be in place. Risk, compliance, back office, dealing, all those departments need to be able to cope with whatever you generate from your acquisition and marketing through the apps.
So if you had to pick one of the biggest challenges while expanding with your apps in your markets, like what would be that?
Right. You know, it's not just one thing. Like I said, it's the whole experience. So first of all, okay, you have the app. You think it's great. You have to test it, right? Your product team needs to be on par to be able to modify things accordingly. You know, we do, I think, hundreds of A/B tests even now. The app is not brand new. You know, it's been operating for a while, but there's minor things that we tweak along the way. In different markets, there are different things that help improve the onboarding and the conversion of a download to a lead into a customer. All the relevant departments that I mentioned before, they need to be on point. They need to be able to process all the applications to service those customers in the best way possible. And recently, I would say for our ability to buy traffic, to buy advertising, and I think you know this because we've discussed it a number of times, it's about tracking. Some platforms, iOS, you know, Apple famously, since iOS 14, they introduced a new privacy settings that made it very, very difficult in the beginning for us to track and probably scale iOS campaigns. So we had to change a lot of things. We had to change our technology providers that helped us with tracking. At the time we were using Adjust. We had to migrate to a competitor, to AppsFlyer. I'm sure some of you know. And why did we have to do that? Because otherwise we were blind and our iOS traffic was not converting as expected because we didn't have the visibility that we wanted, right? So that's an issue. And that means your IT department, product team, whoever, needs to be in a position to support your marketing department when you need to make these changes. Otherwise, you're dead in the water. You can't really scale. You're burning through budgets. And then at the end of the month, at the end of the year, you have to have an uncomfortable meeting with, you know, the rest of the management team or the board of directors and say, oh yeah, we burned through a few $1 million, but it didn't work out. So you can't have that. So you need to be flexible to react and do those things in time.
Yeah, and actually that's a perfect bridge to a very hot topic these days. And it wouldn't be an interesting discussion if we didn't mention the word AI. Everybody talks about AI these days, right? and one thing, you know, which is actually essential these days, also when we talk about AI, apps, and specifically, as you said, measurement challenges, because at the end of the day, somehow you need to measure the success of your app and your app campaigns. AI is playing a role there, right? It's like all these new campaigns, they're smart, they're using AI solutions, and then the results also that they spit out and the measurement is sometimes modeled, right? And to your benefit, actually, what I like is you, together with Michael, your CEO, I think you have injected great mentality of, you know, in your business and your teams that they need to adapt this kind of new reality, right? That you cannot measure everything. You need to also let yourself a bit in the hands of, you know, AI and modeling, and then you need to make sense of these numbers somehow. But
no, that's right. I mean, Michael's right here somewhere.
Exactly. Hey, Michael.
So, all right, an example maybe from your side that you might appreciate. So everybody keeps talking about AI like it's this new thing that just came out, you know, a couple months ago. It's not true. I mean, when did Google introduce UAC campaigns?
2016.
Okay, so 2016. Maybe a lot of people don't realize, but UAC campaigns on Google are AI driven. Yes, it's been improved since earlier versions.
Significantly.
But it's still an AI driven product, right? So when we launched UAC campaigns, we had a lack of understanding about how to optimize. So I remember distinctly that we launched the campaigns and then we figured out that we were burning through a huge amount of money, but we're not getting the results we needed. So we had to teach the algorithm to change its behavior to get us the kind of traffic that we wanted. It was a bit of a trial and error thing. Nobody had the experience working with an AI product for acquisition. Now it's much easier, and I think even, you know, your team from Google is also, I think, much more knowledgeable on how to specifically guide us. I'm talking about our industry, right? How to do that. maybe for other industries, the adoption and the success was quicker. I think for e-commerce, it's slightly different product because you don't have the compliance, the KYC, the onboarding, the life cycle of customers is a bit different. But for us, it had to be adapted. We had to develop models to estimate conversions and customer behavior, and that took some time. So, from that early aspect to where we are today, AI has helped, and it's clear that it works. But at the same time, as with everything, there are some teething problems, and we need to be flexible and ready to work with it.
Correct, which is the new frontier, which is iOS, the new challenge for everybody when we talk about apps. Thank you, Marius. And the last one, just to leave everyone here with your last thoughts. I mean, talking to either business they don't have apps today, or business they have apps but they have not explored it or exploited it as much. What would be your guidance to them and a recommendation moving forward?
All right. I think, just from the title of this session, I guess you can imagine I'm pro apps, right? I don't need to repeat that. But I'll give you another anecdote from back in the day. I mentioned 2016 when our company launched our European business and our regulated broker. Everybody talks about mobile first, and you hear that from a lot of companies these days. But when we launched in 2016, we were not mobile first. For a good 6-7 months, we were mobile only. Our product team didn't have time to finish building the website and the compliant version of our web trader platform. So we only had the mobile apps. So, that was ready. We were able to onboard customers. Everything in the back end was working fine. So we launched mobile only. We had to do it. And of course, the website followed, the web trader, all the other trading apps followed. But it was a no-brainer just because it was easier to acquire traffic. It was easier to onboard customers. We were able to put it in front of more people at the same time. And, it was a decision that we don't regret. It's proven successful, and we're still getting a lot of success from mobile apps. And I think everybody in the industry, whether or not they're doing something with apps or not, they should definitely focus on it and explore new things. There's still a lot you can do when penetrating new markets, testing things. Like you said, most of the traffic these days for our industry, most of the search volume, it's coming on mobile, right? So apps are a huge part of that, and will continue to be so for the foreseeable future.
Thank you so much, Maria. Thank you for your perspective and insights today. It was lovely to speak to you. So before we close, just to mention from my side as well, I think everybody would agree with me that, and with the panel here, that actually apps is now part of our daily lives and is part of the journey. If you want to play on this retail investment vertical, I think you cannot do it without having an app solution to support your clients and users. And before we close, I don't know, do you want to open the floor for questions? Is anybody have some specific question that you want to ask? We're very cozy here, so feel free.
That's okay.
All right, cool. With that, thank you so much again for your time today.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Mario.